Imagine I just filmed. It's close. Anyways. No, it's time to be serious. Hi guys. Don't look at that. Just pretend it's not there. My name is Brianna, and today I'm going to be talking about, I don't really know what this video is. I guess at first it was just gonna, like, I didn't want to do a reading vlog because I wanted to cut down on the reading vlogs that I filmed this month because I had so many planned. But also, like, I just didn't feel like getting up out of my bed. Like, I really did not feel like getting out of my bed to, like, record vlogs and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna do vlogs. And I don't know, I guess this is like just book reviews. It's not really a recommendations video, but I guess it kind of is, because I already have a recommendations video like with these books that aren't this though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have recommendations, but they're not this. But today I'm going to be talking about unhinged or sad girl books that I read. And I started reading this genre and I completely fell in love with it. So I first started off by reading nonfiction. And I was reading like My Friend Anna, and then I read Sex Cult Nun, and then I started reading feminist books. And then once you get into feminist books, you make your way into the unhinged slash sad girl books, and that's what I did. And I just discovered my love for these books. Like, even the ones that I didn't like I still like had so much fun. Like, I don't know if it's because it's like a new genre for me, because it's just literary fiction. So I don't know if it's because it's like a new genre for me. That's why I really love these books. Like, even with nonfiction, like, I'm loving almost every nonfiction book I'm reading. And so I don't really know what to title this video because they're not all like unhinged girls, and they're not all like sad girls. Like, they're kind of both unhinged and sad. So maybe I'll call it I read unhinged slash sad girl books. But yeah, I basically have a superiority complex now, and I've already had one before, so it's a little worse now, methinks. But yeah, these books kind of saved my life. Like, I've been going through a really hard time. I've been suffering depression, and these books have really helped me. Like, I've discovered a lot of things about myself. I've had like new like idealizations now. Like, they comfort me with my depression, because like when I say I have depression, like, that's not like a joke. Like, I'm not being like, haha, like I'm depressed. Like, no, I'm being honest with you guys. Like, I really am having a really hard time right now, and honestly, I'm really just laying in my bed listening to audiobooks. Like, that's literally all I'm doing. I have read 25 books so far this month, and it's only the 23rd. And honestly, if it wasn't for me taking breaks to watch TV shows, I probably would have read a lot more by then. But I don't want to do a wrap up and I'm like, hey, I read 50 books in a month, because I'm not about to sit here for 2 hours talking about the books that I read. And I'm also filming this video so when I do my wrap up, that I don't have to talk about these books, so I can just be like it'll save me a lot of time. So I'm gonna talk more in depth about these books in this video. I'm gonna talk about the books that I don't own first, just so we can get that out the way. I want to state that like all these books are basically books that I found through like TikTok or TikTok or Bookstagram. Like, I started liking these pictures, and now I get a bunch of like these books. So like any books that I see that are like these kind of like a specific aesthetic, like, I started reading them basically. And so these are all books like whatever, very feminist, very girl interrupted, that. So I read Trick Mirror. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I liked the book. Someone on TikTok said it was like life-changing and it changed the way they thought, and I'm like, girl, the book was not that revolutionary. Like, you must not have read or watched anything ever, because for this book to have changed the way you thought, it like, she was talking about literally nothing. It's just a bunch of essays just about like social media and like living in the now. Like, it was kind of boring, to be honest. There's a story that I really liked that she talked about, where she basically talked about what it was like to be on a reality TV show, but she wasn't on like a popular reality TV show. It was like it's something that no one's ever talked about or heard of. So she basically just talked about like what it's like to be on a reality TV show, and like how that was, especially because she was a teen and like growing up. She's actually from Michigan, I believe she said. But I just found the essays kind of boring. But it started off really strong, and then the more you went into the book, the less I cared. The first 5 essays were a lot, but then I struggled to pay attention with the last like 2. But yeah, it's okay. So the next book I have is Milk Fed. Now, this book I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This book was fucking wild. This book was crazy. This book is basically about this girl who has mommy issues, and her therapist tells her like, hey, like, how about you not talk to your mom for like X amount of days, or just not talk to your mom and see how that goes. And she really struggles with like her weight and her relationships, and it basically all stems from her mommy issues. So she stops talking to her mom, and she ends up dating this plus size woman. And there was a lot of disgusting things that were talked about in this book. Like, every time the author described sex, I think I wanted to throw up. But there was a lot of good quotes in the book, and the book was entertaining. Like, I had a fun time. Like, I didn't take the book seriously, and so I think that's why like I enjoyed the book. I did think it was a bit too long for my liking. It was entertaining and funny, I'm not gonna lie, and that's why I gave it 3 stars. And I kind of read it as like satire. I don't know if that's how it was meant to be read, but that's how I read it. I hope my camera angle's okay. Like, if it's not, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. But I also found she also struggles with an eating disorder, because her mom like fat shamed her a lot and like made her feel bad for like her weight. And so she struggled with an eating disorder, and I like that aspect of the book, because her relationship with food is very like, it reminds me of my relationship with food. And it's not, I don't have an eating disorder or anything, but I struggle with like gaining weight, and I know that's not the same thing, but our relationship with food is the same. Like how so like I have like a fast metabolism, and like some days I don't eat, or I literally don't feel like eating. My body just does not care to eat. And then other days I want to eat everything. And like even how she like counts her calories and all this stuff, like I do that too, to make sure I'm getting a lot of calories so that I can gain weight. And as we can see, I'm not gaining any weight. And I know it's not the same as like having an eating disorder, but just our relationship with foods were really similar, and I really did like that aspect of the book. But yeah, it would have been a 4-star, but the sex descriptions, I had to give it a -1. I could not do it. When she said that it smelled like fish, I was like, what? They don't smell like fish. Like, I don't know why the author wrote that. Like, it doesn't smell like fish, it shouldn't smell like fish. Like, okay, yeah, maybe she was on her period, but like, why did the author write that? And then this is like when she was going down on the girl, because it's a queer book, by the way. The next book I have is If I Had Your Face, and I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. And this basically follows 3 different women, and I want to say Korea, and basically it's a translated book. I also want to say I read a lot of translated books. I'm very proud of myself. I think I've read the most diversely with this genre than I have with any other genre, and that's mostly because this genre had books that I was like interested in reading. This one is about, it follows 3 women in Korea, and they live in the same apartment building, and it's basically just their struggles with like beauty in their community. I just thought that this book was really boring, and at times the book was like funny and weird, and the women were like unhinged, but overall I just found the book very boring. There wasn't any character that like I found myself interested in. And one thing I found with these books, that if you don't like if you don't like the character in the book, you're not gonna really like the book, because these books don't have any plots. It's literally just like the women and what they're dealing with. But it also isn't always the case with the, like, as you'll see with the book later that I talk about. So the next book I have is The Bell Jar, and I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. This is actually a classic. This is just about this, damn, what is this book about? It's about this girl who is living in like this hotel, and she wants to like commit suicide, and she ends up like in this psych ward. And a lot of people think it's actually about Sylvia Plath, because she committed suicide. I don't know if it was like soon after this book or not, but like when she was living in a hotel, I found the book very interesting. But then it was just so long, and I got bored. And then like the amount of Negroes that were used in this book made me very uncomfortable. And like, I know what you're saying, you're probably like, Mayana, you read Stephen King, like he writes the N-word with the hard ER in his books, and I'm not saying it's okay or anything, but at least in his books it's always like the villain saying it, like, and he shouldn't be like, oh, this person is so bad that the villain, they said the N-word. Like, it's not okay, but at least he's doing that. Whereas in this book, like, the main character is saying it, and then there's something about the word Negro that is actually harsher to me, because it was like, this is back in like the 60s or whatever, and like she was just saying it just to be saying it, like for no reason, and it was making me uncomfortable. And then there was a scene at the psych ward where she kicked this black guy and then called him a Negro. Why did you have to do that? Why did that have to be done? Like, I get unlikable characters, but I just found this book very boring. And then I have Acts of Desperation, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. This book is basically about this girl, and she is Irish, and she basically is falling in love with this man, and they have like this really toxic relationship. And I really just like this book, and just touching on wanting to be loved, and the things you'll do to stay in a relationship, and being in a toxic relationship, and then finding yourself out of a toxic relationship. And I just thought that this book was just amazing. As we can see, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's just chef's kiss. It was perfect. Next book I read is The New Me, and I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. I thought that Molly, the main character, was extremely annoying, and like I said, if you do not like the main character in these books, you might as well just stop reading it, because you're probably not going to like the book because they have no plot. This book was really short, thank God. It was like 4 hours on Audible, so it was about 2 hours on 3 times speed. The main character was just extremely insecure, and I just can't relate to that, because even though I am going through my depression, one thing about me is I'm not going to be insecure. Like, there are some things I'm insecure about, like my channel, and like, you know, but it's like I'm never insecure with myself. That is one thing that I've always had ever since I started being confident at the age of when I turned 20. And ever since I started to be confident, like, I have literally been working on my confidence for 4 years now, and it's not working on because I am really confident. And one thing about me is no matter how depressed I am, no matter how low in life I am, I will never be insecure within myself, and I will never reflect that back on other people, because I've worked on myself and my own confidence. And so the main character, she would put down women a lot. She was just extremely insecure. She would compare herself a lot, and I just can't relate to that. And I found it extremely annoying and pitiful, I'm not gonna lie. And I know there are people out there like that, and I mean, it's not like okay, but like we all have our qualms, you know, we all have our things that aren't okay, so I'm definitely not judging. It just was not for me. The next book I have is Animal, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. So this book, like as I was saying in this video, if you like the main character, you'll probably like the book. I like the main character. I did not like the book. I thought that the book dragged on quite a bit. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Like, who am I? Emma Roberts did marinate. Oh my gosh, what is the word? Narrate. Okay. Emma Roberts did narrate the audiobook, and I loved it, especially because like I kind of saw her as the main character, and like I ate that up. But I just got really bored throughout the book. The book was 300 pages, and with these other books is they definitely know that their limit, like they definitely know that they need to be like 250 pages, like 300 pages or less. And like I just felt like this book kind of exceeded its limit. Like I got bored. It's just about this girl who keeps dating married men, and she keeps getting into shit until one day she gets so far into shit that like she cannot get out of it. And there are some things said in this book that I was just like, why was that said? Like, she was moving into her house, and there was like this black guy in there, and she basically was like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like if he would like to sexually assault me. And I was like, okay. So yeah, there are some things said that like shouldn't have been, but yeah. And then the last book that like I don't own that I want to talk about is We Had to Remove This Post, which I gave 1 out of 5 stars. So this one is just about this girl who works for this company, which is essentially Facebook, and she basically like kind of censors what is posted on the site. Like when people post like deaths on there, or graphic language, or just stuff that, you know, shouldn't be posted on the site that, you know, violates community guidelines, she monitor that and like get rid of it. And so they're basically sitting at computers like watching really like bad stuff all day. And so I was kind of hoping it would be like a Black Mirror episode, like how it affects them, but it wasn't. It was just like about like how her like grandpa was like a Nazi or something, and her girlfriend found out or something like that. I thought the book was problematic for no reason, and like there was a reason. Like I get it, like they were monitoring all this like nasty talk all day long if they start to talk like them, but I just don't think that makes sense to me. I'm sorry, but like the amount of the F-bombs that were dropped in this book just made me extremely uncomfortable. Like I could not do it. And then the end felt like the author just stopped writing. Like it literally felt like she was like typing, put a period, got up, walked away, and then came back and thought she finished the book, and then sent it in, and then the people were like, I like where you're going with here, I'm gonna take that and gonna run with it. I did not like it. I did not enjoy it. It was not fun. I was very confused. I don't know why she didn't finish writing the book, but whatever. So now we're gonna get into the rest of the books. So then I read The Idiot, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars, and I annotated it. This one is about this girl who goes to university. Her family is from Turkey, and she goes to like I want to say like fucking Harvard or something. Yeah, she goes to Harvard, and this is set in 1995, and it is like when emails were kind of discovered, and it's about her emailing this guy. Honestly, the back of the book and like the Goodreads description is the literal exact plot of the book, not gonna lie. Like, it is quite literally like the entire plot is here. Like, the book is like 300 pages, and like I tabbed it, and like, okay, I don't know if you can tell, but towards the like bottom, I just started putting like towards like the 50% mark, I just started tabbing whatever, because I didn't want to like just have 50% tabs. But like, I did not like the second half of the book. So the first half is about her going to college, and she's taking classes that she doesn't care about, and she has these like, she has this friend that she makes, and this guy named Ivan who is Hungarian, and he's really perfect, and he is like studying mathematics, and she wants to study English, but like I said, she's taking these classes that she doesn't care about. She's taking like Russian literature and like a bunch of like useless fucking classes, and she has 2 roommates. One is black and one is Asian, and they don't really get along. They're like passive aggressive towards each other, and she's like fine with them both. And then like her and Even start exchanging emails, but they're not talking in class. And then they do start talking, and he convinces her to go to Hungary with him, and he basically is a fuckboy, and he led her on, and he basically just like, he didn't use her, but he just convinced her to go there, like, and nothing happened. And like, someone on Goodreads said this very perfectly. If I wanted to read a girl being led on with messages for 300 pages, I would just open my iMessage app. Like, at first I liked this book because I was really relating. Like, in my freshman year of high school, there was this guy that I really liked, and he was super cute, and he was like kind of popular. Not me like living like the popular boy nerdy trope, but yeah. And we used to text all the time, but we never talked in school. And that, like, I really related to. Like, I would just remember always texting him, trying to impress him. Like, I wasn't trying to like get him to like think I was someone that wasn't, or anything. Like, that's not the kind of girl I am. But I was like trying to impress him. Like, I wanted him to talk to me in class, but I wasn't gonna like we were in the same class, by the way. Like, this wasn't like this man, like in the high school that I went to, we went to the same classes. Like, the people that you were in your class with, you were in their class all day long, like all year long. Y'all went to the same exact classes all day, all year. So like, we were in the same class, we just never talked. And like, I remember like at lunch we would sit back to back, like our friend groups. Like, we both had really big friend groups, one of the biggest friend groups in our like grades. And so we would sit at like these 2 big round tables, and we would sit back to back with each other, and we would kind of like flirt and stuff like that, but like it would never go anywhere. And so I really related to like her talking to this guy and like them never talking, because the same thing happened to me basically. Like, I was talking and dating this guy, well, not dating, I was talking to this guy, and like I thought we were gonna go somewhere, and I really liked him, and then he led me on, and he ended things, and yeah, I really related. But the second half of this book was just fucking boring. Like, nothing was happening. They were just in Hungary. Like, he was just literally leading her on. There's like 1 red tab after the 50% mark, and that is just because I had too many green tabs, which I think was like relatable or funny. It was, yeah, funny. So I just put the pink tab there. Like, as you can see, like the tabs, I literally didn't highlight. Like at the start of the book, I have like I'm trying to show you guys before my camera dies. I'm trying to hurry up. So like, I love them together, but I didn't know what the plot really was before I finished the book. So like, by the end of the book, I was like, oh. And then I also thought it was really interesting because like, the first half of the book, I really liked Ivan. Like, I thought he was like really cool and cute. And how did I think he was cute? I never seen him. What? I thought he was like really interesting, and he was really funny, and they had really good banter. But then it's like, once they start to talk to each other, I kind of was really bored with him, and I was like, wow, he doesn't have any personality. And like, I kind of wish the main character would have like known the same thing. But I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars because like I relate to this book, how the main character overthinks literally every reaction, that every like interaction that she has, she overthinks it, and she wonders like why her peers don't think about the same things in the way that she does. They don't think about the same things that she does, and they don't overthink. And like I relate to overthinking and all this stuff, and I just got bored during the second half. Like if this book was 200 pages, I would have loved it, but unfortunately it wasn't. Then the next book I have is A Discovery of Witches, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This book is about witches and feminism and how they kind of relate. And I thought this was like really good and really interesting. And this author is French, so this was a translated book. I read a lot of translated books, and I can't wait. I really hope that the author's other books get translated, because I thought this book was really good. Like I thought I was gonna go into this book reading some white feminism shit, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like she talked about black women in this book, and she talked about black issues, and obviously not from like a black perspective or anything, but like she made sure to mention like there's sometimes when people have discussions and I'm like, oh, like that stems from like black people, and like she talked about that. Like she literally talked about like having kids and how like the stigma for black women, and like how people will treat black women who have kids or a bunch of kids or kids at an early age, and like versus how they're treated like white women. And like I really appreciated her for writing that. But like this book was just so like interesting to talk about witches and how women are like basically still on trial, and how like things aren't really the same. And she even talks about like having a kid, and like I have had huge baby fever like the past like 3 years, and she makes me question like, do I want to have kids because that's something society wants me to have, or like, do I really want to have children, and like why do you want to have children? Because I feel like if you can't answer that question with like why you want to have children, then like you shouldn't be having children. Like for me, I want to have children because I want to break generational curses, and I want to raise children in a way that I wish that I was raised. And I want a bunch of kids, and I want them all to raise them all differently and like to their needs, because I don't think you can raise every single child the exact same. Like, you can't raise them as kids, and like basically to break generational curses and just to raise kids how I believe they should be raised, and not how our parents raised us. Because I've been noticing a lot in like parenthood, and this is about like when at the first, damn, I'm just stuttering. When she first asked the question, I was thinking like, why do I want to have kids? And I really thought about that, and I really thought about the answer. And that doesn't mean I'm about to go start having kids. Don't even have a boyfriend, girl. I'm not even talking to anybody. So definitely it's gonna be a long time before I have kids, but at least like I know why I want to have kids. And she just talked about like a lot of good things, and like she talked about like American issues even though she's French. And like I just really love this book. I ended up giving it 4 instead of 5 because I did kind of get bored with the last chapter. This audiobook is very quick, but I just got bored, unfortunately. The next book I read is Convenience Store Woman. I am so upset because I wanted the pink cover and I got the yellow one. Sucks. So this one I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved it. This one is about this girl, and I forgot her name, but she's 36 and she's never had a boyfriend, and she works at a convenience store, and she's definitely neurodivergent. She's definitely on the spectrum, and I loved it. So this book is on like a lot of like Unhinged or sad girls book lists, and I actually don't think that it's either, to be honest, but I did want to include this book because like that's what people like say. I wanted the pink cover so bad, and, like I thought I at least ordered the blue one, and I got the yellow one. Like, but I really love this story. Like Kiko was just great, and like I just love the idea of like not being where you're supposed to be in like a certain age, and like even though you're not there, like you love being there, and like that's totally fine because you're happy with being there. And like I really like that discussion, because like I'm not like where I want to be or where I think I should be with my age, and like where should I be? Like I'm 20, like where should I be in life? You know what I'm saying? Like where should I be? But I really like that topic. The only reason why I gave it, okay, and then there was a part in this book, because I was loving the book in the beginning, like the introduction, like I love the main character, And then there's a part in the middle where she starts dating this guy who's an incel. And that's where the book for me, I was like, damn, I have to give this book 2 stars. Like, I'm hating this book because I did not know where it was gonna go. Like, 5 stars, and then I was like, it's working its way down because of the incel. But I really liked that because she only started dating the incel because of how society was and how like her friends and her peers were at a certain point in her life, so she thought she had to be there too, and she thought she had to have a husband. And the incel guy did not care about her. He was an incel. He was absolutely disgusting, and she was just dealing with him because low-key, because of other people in her life were telling her like, hey, like, you need a boyfriend. And so she was like, well, I'll just be with this guy who won't even, I have to ask to use my own bathroom when I'm with him, you know. And so when I was reading it, I was like, oh, I don't like this, because I thought they were gonna end up together, and they did not. So I love that. Like, I was like, okay, yes. And my girl got her power in the end. So like, yeah, the incel wasn't needed, but I get the whole point of the incel. Like, he was there for a reason. Like, he could have not been there. But honestly, even thinking about it makes me want to raise it to a 5 stars, because like, I think the author was actually really genius with putting him in the story, because like I said, he could have not been there, but I feel like it also gave the main character power in the end when she finally left him, because it was a big fu to him, but a fu to like her peers and her friends who are forcing her, not forcing her, but telling her like she needed to date, she needed to have a boyfriend, because she just wanted to work in this convenience store. Like, she just wanted to do what she wanted to do. And like, she even like had to lie to her friends when they asked her like why she didn't. And also like, nobody really understood like autism, I don't think, so she couldn't really be like, oh yeah, like, I'm autistic, because like they would have thought she wasn't normal or whatever. And I love this book. I thought it was great. Okay, so the next book I want to talk about is My Sister the Serial Killer. So this book isn't like a sad girl book, but this is more so like an unhinged one. And one thing I can say about TikTok, like the sad girl book TikToks or the unhinged woman TikTok, is that they are actually really diverse. And they're very diverse, because I got most of my recommendations from there. And like, I have heard about My Sister the Serial Killer, but I hadn't had any interest in reading the book, just because I don't know, like, I'm not really like a thriller person. Like, I do read a lot of thrillers, but like, there's not a lot of thrillers I like. But like, this one, I didn't read this as a thriller. This one isn't really a thriller in my mind. Like, to me, this is a literary fiction that just has some killing going on, because there's no thrilling things in this book. This book is about this girl, and her sister keeps killing men, and at a certain point she's just like, okay bitch, because she's the one cleaning up the mess. And I really like this book because of like, she's like the older sister, and her younger sister, who's the one who keeps killing men, like, she's very beautiful, and like, she's outgoing, and she's great, she's a social media star, like, she has her life really going for her. And so there's a point in this book where she's telling her mom like, hey, like, you know, she's killing people, and her mom is like, stop that, like, you're being jealous, like, stop being jealous of her. And I just really like that, like, people like thinking that she's speaking up and thinking that she's like jealous, when really she's like, nope, this bitch is crazy. And like, there's even a point where like, her sister is going after this man that she wanted, and she's quiet about it at first, but then she finally comes up and she's like, hey, like, she kills men. And he's like, you're lying, like, you just want what she has. And like, everyone just thinks that she's just so jealous of her sister, and really her sister's just fucking crazy. And I loved it. It was such a fun, wild time. And like I said, I thought of this as more of a literary fiction than I did a thriller. So I think if you go into it you thinking it's a literary fiction, you won't be disappointed, because there was nothing thrilling about this book. The next book I have is My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I hate this flap. Like, I don't get why they do this. Like, someone said it's so like it can help them sell the book, but if I were to go to a store and like I wasn't a reader and I would be like, oh, New York Times bestseller, that's not gonna make me pick up a book. Because do you know how easy it is to become a New York Times bestseller? You have to sell like 10,000 books within a certain time period, which probably, I mean, I'm not an author, so I'm not even gonna be like, it's not that hard. But everyone is a New York Times bestseller, bitch. So like, let's stop this. I should have gotten a US cover, but I wanted this book so bad because I was going to annotate it. As you can see, I didn't, so I should have just got the UK one. And now I can't get the UK one because I feel like that's a waste of money, because they're both paperbacks. But whatever, enough of my dilemma here. So, My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I read this book because I was going to read this book for like a vlog where I read this book, even though I knew I was going to hate it, just because I love hating things. And I wasn't vlogging it when I read it. And I actually ended up loving this book. So the joke was on me. This book is about this girl who's really depressed, and she decides to take a year of rest and relaxation. So she decides to get a bunch of pills, dope herself up, and sleep for an entire year. And yeah, so it was basically just her like sleeping for a year. And I personally really like this book and how it dealt with depression. I feel like I'm in a year of my rest and relaxation era, except for instead of sleeping, I'm listening to audiobooks all day. Like, that's literally what I'm doing. I'm literally laying in my bed listening to audiobooks all day. And I just found this main character very relatable, and like, she is an unlikable main character, but a lot of people don't like that. But I think I liked about the character was that having depression does make you a likable person. Like, at least for me it does. Like, sometimes you just want people to like leave you alone. And there are people, like, she was so mean to her best friend, but like, I could understand why, because sometimes you just want people to leave you alone when you are depressed. And like, I just want to like be in my room, do the things that make me happy. Like, I don't want someone coming in my life telling me like, hey, like, let's go out today, like you need to be happy, like, let's go out. Like, bitch, I'm happy. Like, I mean, I guess I'm depressed, but I'm perfectly content in what I'm doing right now, and like, I just want to be left alone. And like, I understand how it is to have someone trying to like cheer you up and make you go out and do things when you really just want to be alone. And like, I understand what it's like to like purposely hurt someone so that they'll leave you alone. And like, I definitely like think that like having depression doesn't, you're not likable when you have depression. Like, you're in a really dark space, and you, for me at least, I want to be in like this dark space alone. And I just really related to the main character. There were also just some things in this book that was said that I just thought was absolutely fucking hilarious. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's this scene where her ex-boyfriend is like moving on, and she's like, bitch, and so she like calls him up and she's like, you better come over here to have sex with me right now, I'm gonna kill myself. And I thought that was hilarious. This also takes place in the early 2000s, which I did not know until a good portion into the book. They had mentioned like one of the presidents in the early 2000s, and I was like, that's a little weird. And then they mentioned the Twin Towers, and I was like, wait a minute, this don't sound right. Yeah, I really like the early 2000s. And like, there's like this part of the book where she's taking so many pills that she's doing stuff that she doesn't even remember doing. I just thought it was like so entertaining. So yeah, I really related to this character, and I love that she was unlikable. Like, it made me laugh, irritated. I listened to a very terrible audiobook, and I still managed to give this book, I gave this book 4 stars at first, but I couldn't get this book off my mind, so then I ended up giving it 5 stars. And the next book I read, which I love this cover, but this is like the UK cover because I didn't want to get the US cover. And like, the cover has like some type of like, I got this used, and it has some type of like damage to it. Like, the cover isn't like it feels like paper. But the next book I have is Ghost by Dolly Alderton. I am going to be reading her non-fiction book that she has, Everything I Know Everything About Love. I'm going to be reading that soon. I think I might be reading that for a vlog that I'm working on, or if not, I'll still be reading it this month, so just check out my wrap up, if not next month. Anyways, so Ghost, I was pleasantly surprised by this book, so I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This book, I do talk about this book in a vlog, the vlog that I'm actually filming, that I was just talking about. So hopefully I have that vlog up by the end of the month, so then you guys can see that. But basically, this book is about this 32-year-old, like, I'm trying not to expose my messy floor. I let her tear up paper, so don't even look at that. It makes her happy, so don't judge me. But Apple's sitting next to me, and it, okay, yeah, I kind of knew that wasn't gonna last very long. She doesn't really like to be by me very much. So this one is about this girl who is 32, and she just recently broke up with her boyfriend, and she's now trying to get back in the dating scene. Her dad has early onset dementia. Her mom is acting very weird, and it's like a coming of age story, but like for 30s. And I kind of wish we got coming of age stories but for every single like age group, and not just teenagers, because for the longest time I thought that coming of age stories were only for teenagers, because that's all they would have like movies about and like whatever. But I love coming of age stories, and so that's what this is. And it's about this girl, and she starts online dating, and she starts to like fall for this guy, and then he like ghosts her. And it's just so, I can relate to this book. Like, I relate to this heavy. Like, I have dated online before. I'm actually done with my online dating era. Like, I don't do online dating anymore. Like, I just have no patience for men online at all. And so she is like, she's in her online dating era. She, like, this guy, like, he ghosts her, and she has to deal with like being ghosted. And like, now I'm gonna say sometimes in the book it does feel a little bit desperate, but I can understand that because she's never been ghosted before. But like in the book, like this man, like, now he did tell her he loved her and then dipped out on her. Like I was like, ugh. So yeah, he tells her he loves her, he plans all the dates, makes all the moves, right, and then ghosts her. And she's like, bro, what the hell? And so she's texting him, she's calling him, he's not answering, all this stuff. She's texting him like 10, 18, 20 times. Listen, if you ghost me, I usually will probably send like one text, and if you don't reply to that, there's nothing else I can do, because I really don't want to come off as like crazy and insane. Even though I am, I don't want to come off as that. So I can tell you, she's very brave for texting and calling him as many times as she did. Like, I've had a guy tell me he loved me and then ghost me, and I texted him a good one time, and after that it was just nothing else I could do about it. He also came back into my life, which is the same thing that happened in this book. Like, he came back into her life and then ghosted her again, which is the same thing that happened to me. Like, did this author read my life? But like, the amount of times I've been ghosted by guys, and guys, listen, guys spin the block with me all the time. It's my Leo rising, so it's nothing I'm not used to. Whatever, that's not about my dating. So yeah, and like, her ex-boyfriend is now getting married, and he's like, oh, I want to have kids and I'm getting married. And she's like, well, when we were together you didn't have no interest in any of that. He's like, well, you know, when you date different people you have different ideas, which I actually do agree with. Like, there are some people that I've dated that I'm just like, oh, like, I could start playing with this person. There are people that I'm dating where I'm like, oh no, I couldn't. I'm also young. And also, speaking of that, like in this book, like, she comes to terms with being 32 and not having any kids and not being married and being alone. And that also helped me come to terms with being 24. I'm not 24 yet, but I will be 24 in August. And Virgo. Yeah, and so it helped me come to terms. Like, I had my whole life planned out. I was gonna have a boyfriend. We were gonna get engaged when I was 23, which is now. And then we're gonna be engaged for 2 years. I was gonna be married by 25, have kids by 28. 23, don't have a boyfriend, not really talking to anyone, not dating anyone, not doing anything. I don't see that happening. And the closer I got to 25 and not being married, the more I felt so bad and insecure about myself. But then I started to realize, like, I'll get it when I get it. Like, I don't have to like get all these things when I'm young, and like, I'm not really interested in like being young and having fun and partying and stuff like that. But like, I just read my books. Like, I get insecure about like, oh my gosh, like, what if I fall in love and I don't want to read romance books anymore? Like, I experiencing that love and I don't want to read romance anymore. That'll never happen. But now I'm reading all the romance books I can. Like, I'm not really interested in like going out and being a party girl or anything like that, but I'm having fun being alone. I love being alone. I've always loved being alone. I love spending time with myself. I think my biggest struggle will have to be, I am really clingy though, so like, and I am very codependent, so like, I'm working on that, I guess. How can you work on being codependent if you don't have anyone? Anyways, whatever. So, but this book helped me realize that like, I don't need to have everything that I thought I needed to have. Like, that's one thing about literary fiction that like I've learned. And I'm glad that I started reading this genre, especially with my birthday being in August, like coming up soon, because I would have felt like I was feeling so insecure about my life, about being 23 and not really having like a serious job or a job at all right now, and just like not having a boyfriend, not having a dollar to my name, feeling like 20 something by SZA times 35, and I felt so insecure about it. But now I don't care. Like, whatever happens, happens. Like, I literally have all my life, you know, to start a family. This book just taught me so much. But you're probably wondering, like, why did I give it 4 out of 5? I'm sweating all over the book, and it's only damaging it more. You're probably wondering, like, why I gave it 4 out of 5 instead of 5 stars. And it's simply because I usually get, like, this, like, butterflies in, like, my chest. And it's just, like, this feeling that I get, usually when I read romance books or like books I'm gonna give 5 stars, and I just didn't get that feeling with this book. And even without that feeling, I just don't, the book wasn't like, I don't know, I love the ending, but the book just wasn't like 5-star material. I've read so many 5 stars. Honestly, July has been my best reading month. I can't wait to give you guys my wrap up, because I have so many books that are like literally my all-time favorite books. Like, July has been my best wrap up in years, like years. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. Usually people, when people start a Patreon, they talk about it before the video starts, but I'm an idiot, so I'm going to talk about it after. But if you're sticking around anyways, you're probably somebody who would want to join my Patreon because you care about my videos. So I did restart my Patreon, and I'm probably going to be getting rid of my channel membership. So if you are a part of my channel membership, you can just subscribe to my Patreon, but if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. It's totally fine. But I am starting up my Patreon just because I do kind of like that more. I'm posting movie and TV show wrap-ups, like what I watched in like a month. I want to do like tarot readings, astrology readings. I'm going to do a group. I'm going to do like a buddy read. I'm trying to think of like my book buddy read that I want to do for August. I should pick a really good book because my birthday's in August. So I maybe should pick either like my favorite book or a 5-star prediction. But that's going to be tricky because y'all know I'm a critical reader. So maybe I should do like my favorite book. I don't want to reread anything. I don't know. That's a hard. And I'm going to be vlogging that. And then I have special videos that I'm going to be uploading. Like I want to do like read with me videos. Basically videos that I want to do on my channel. But I know no one's going to watch. So I don't want to waste my time. But even if I upload it on my Patreon and like 4 people watch it, at least it's people who like care about what I'm watching. So yeah, definitely check out my Patreon if you want to. I have a $1 tier, a $3 tier, a $5 tier, and a $10 tier. The $10 tier is for like my other hobbies, which is like my spirituality stuff. So my $10 tier is basically just for my hobbies that aren't reading. Thank you for watching this video. Check out my Patreon, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.